License and registration, he can sense your aggravation.
On the head of the fallen angel.
When the world is muttering under the floorboards, stomp even louder.
Time.
Let them know you are alive today.
Or unhum.
Did you know that your hands came with a ripple effect?
Whisper tones unraveling like silk.
Blood, sweat, and tears win by any means poetry.
Sway, look at me. Is a piece of the pie too good for me?
Some may call it rock the mic. We call it poetry.
This time, the indelible blueprint of separation changes everything, brings denial and disruption, but also opportunity. Once broken, natural bonds bleed for eternity. Vision is forever fractured. Yearning becomes the relentless throb of yesterday's pulse, forever reverberating throughout life's infinity mirror. You ask yourself, why, how, what this journey means, has meant, why, after all this time, such questions persist. Will time not dispel the notion that yours is a journey, an experience of significance beyond your own infinitesimal relevance? And so you choose a new path. Seek new, stimulating sounds, sights, truths. Seek answers to awaken a oneness that brings strength. Sight beyond seeing, opening that third eye, granting vision in 3D plus, revealing, explaining, exposing all the elusive questions and answers that had danced for so long just beyond the periphery of consciousness. What does it mean when the sun does not illuminate sufficiently for comprehension and shadows linger so much longer than daylight, even as thunder rolls and storms press past points that deny safe haven, forcing fight or flight reflexes you have yet to master? But this time, you receive the answers. Incessant query and diligent examination have not left you barren. This time, you question neither purpose nor plan, for passion partnered with faith has proven to be sufficient. These are the gifts granted yearning souls such as yours to illuminate paths and unearth finds that awaken myriad possibilities. Together, they ignite beyond mere ember. This time, they radiate, resonate, burst into revelatory flames, casting clarifying light. Comprehension comes quick. Unanticipated understanding occurs like galaxies colliding, exploding into starbursts. Awareness expands exponentially, welcoming a new reality this time. Hello, and welcome to Sojourn with Words. For those who view with us regularly, welcome back. And for newbies, hey, get on board, because this is going to be an exciting ride. I know from our guest poet, he's got something to say. I'm speaking of Roscoe Burnems, and he is an incredible poet. Well, I shouldn't get too excited, just my personal experience. Let me just share some bio information beyond the fact that he's from Richmond, Virginia, which for our international viewers is the capital city of Virginia, located here on the East Coast of the United States. Okay, so Richmond, Virginia native Douglas Powell, also known in art circles as Roscoe Burnems, is that city's first poet laureate. Yes, he is a published author, a host, producer, spoken word artist, comedian, educator, and father who has dedicated his craft to entertaining and educating. In his time as an artist, he's been a three-time Southern Regional finalist, 2009, 2014, and 2022, National Poetry Slam champion in 2014, and a two-time Underground Poetry Slam champion, 2019 and 2022. Okay, you get it. He's well known in poetry circles and certainly stages along the East Coast at the very least, and I'm sure beyond that. He has been a TEDx speaker and a host for VPM's In the Pen, an interview series highlighting art in Virginia. And let's see, I'll let him tell you what VPM stands for. Roscoe is the creator of the Writer's Den RVA Art Collective, a poetry-based arts, education, and entertainment organization which conducts creative writing workshops throughout Central Virginia. His poetry and comedy specials, yeah, you got it, and comedy specials, Traumedy and Black.Dead.Life, are currently streaming. Roscoe, welcome to Sojourn with Words.
Hey there, thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. It is very much my privilege and my pleasure. I have family in Richmond, Virginia, so I know they're going to be interested in seeing this episode for sure. Roscoe, you are someone who takes poetry not just to the page, but to the stage. I see the discussion about educating, but also entertaining. We know that sometimes folks say, poetry, that's not my thing, but I guarantee you, they hear Roscoe, they're like, oh yeah, where's he going to be next? Talk to us about Define, your newest book.
So my latest collection, it takes a more serious turn. So I talk very candidly about mental health, some of the challenges, and this is right on time because June is actually Men's Mental Health Month. So, we weren't having these conversations before. I hope we're having them in June about, depression, anxiety, and the book really covers the gamut when it comes to that, how difficult it is to talk about depression, particularly as a man, particularly as a Black man, because, just conversations around mental health are just not happening as often as they should, and can be kind of dismissive even when they are happening. And so the goal is always to take away the stigmas surrounded around mental health communities, with men, and to get us talking more openly about what solutions there are, right? How to express ourselves in a healthy way, finding healthy coping strategies. Writing has been one for me for a very long time. And knowing that this, it's an ongoing battle, one that we really shouldn't shy away from, but lean into it, as a community so that we can continue to help each other.
Okay, for sure. And this book is out or is about to be out?
This book is out. We started the book tour beginning of last year, and we're just still trying to continue to get the word out and continue to get people to read, and hopefully it sparks some conversations from there.
Okay. And you're spelling it Defyne. Is there a particular significance to that?
So the book is kind of centered around defining and redefining yourself outside of trauma. And the book is there to defy some of the stereotypes that come with dealing with mental health, men in mental health. So the book is an act of defiance. And it's also an opportunity to kind of redefine, how you show up in the world outside of the traumatic experiences you may have had.
Okay, so this is clearly on the educational side of Roscoe Burnems. Is there poetry in the book? Is it a book of poetry or is it not?
It is a book of poetry. It is a book of poetry. The poems all talk about mental health in some way. I track my journey through there. These poems were birthed out of therapy sessions and prompts, honestly, from my therapist at the time, and turned into some really poignant poetry. And then in addition to the collection of poems, there are some writing prompts in the back.
Okay, I see. Right now, I'm going to have to connect you with a partner of mine who does some work with Howard University. I definitely am going to pass the word on about your book. But anyway, moving right along, talk to us about poetry slam and performance poetry, because that's your thing. That's what folks know you for. You light up the stage, you set the mic on fire, you have a reputation that well precedes you. So talk to us about poetry slam, because some folks think that a poetry reading is a poetry slam, and we know that's not the case. So
Yeah, that's not
Sistah
necessarily.
Joy does poetry readings. Roscoe Burnham, well, let me do it this way. Roscoe Burnham does slams and performance poetry. Educate the viewers, please.
So poetry slam is a kind of a subgenre of the poetry, community, right? There's performance poetry where that's any poet getting on stage and performing, their written work in front of an audience, is doing some level of performance poetry, right? Spoken word, if you will. Poetry slam is a competitive art form. It's a little game. It's a sport, that we like to play. Poets get on stage. They perform in front of an audience that includes 5 judges. Those judges have like scoreboards, or they'll have like dry erase boards. They can write their score on there, and they're judging how well that person was able to tell that story, right? Now they might be considering the writing and the performance. Every judge's criteria is a little different, which is kind of what we want. The judges are picked from the audience, and the only real criteria is that they don't know any of the poets. So poets, recite their pieces. The judges give it a score, and then at the end of the night, we have a winner. So these types of competitions happen on like a local level, might be happening in your city, might be happening somewhere within the state. There's also regional and national competitions as well. So I've been a part of this poetry slam community for a really long time. I think I first started doing poetry slams in like 2008. And then I fell in love with it. You know what I mean? I'm a little competitive. I also think it's I think it's fun. I think it's pushed me to be a better writer. I mean, you go to these poetry slams and you're seeing some of the best performers and writers that we've ever seen. And so it's always pushed me to be best version of myself when I show up. And then, there's other things that go along with this, right? So, when a poet gets on stage, they get 3 minutes with a 10-second grace period to perform a piece within that round, and there might be multiple rounds. With some poetry slams, I know with the individual World Poetry Slam and with the Women of the World Poetry Slam, there's a 1-minute category, a 2-minute, a 3-minute, and a 4-minute round, right? So, poets have to have pieces that are shorter, pieces that are longer. And so you really learn brevity within the storytelling. Or with longer pieces, you learn how to really build like a full story. And then I love the performance element of it. I think that there are, writers who write brilliantly. And, taking that to a stage though, it's like kind of like just an added component to it, right? You really get to see the theatrics and the passion in the person's voice, and not just the writing. So it's really pushing me to be a better performer as well. So I've always been a fan. I've been a fan now of the game for a really long time, and I love seeing how it helps new writers.
Okay. Well, and Roscoe, as he pointed out, they are local, they are regional, they are national and international. Of course, we know Gail Danley, right from this region of the country, is an former international slam champion.
Yeah.
So we know that there may be some who are viewing this overseas that may be familiar with some of the poets from the U.S. So thank you for explaining the breadth of slam poetry, and not the least of which is many offer cash prizes. So
It's always a nice little incentive there, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
it's always
So,
a nice little incentive there. Not all do, but some do. So,
yeah.
talk to us briefly about, well, the intersection of poetry and comedy, because that was something that you highlighted to me when we were getting your bio information. Poetry and comedy.
So I think, see, here's the thing. I think really what I love more than anything in stories is good storytelling. And the two forms I think I fell in love with at the earliest age was poetry and later in like comedy, or possibly around the same time. My mom was a big fan of stand-up comedy. She was a big Richard Pryor fan. Like I saw, Eddie Murphy. I watched Def Comedy Jam at an age where I probably should not have been watching Def Comedy Jam. But I always appreciated them taking these kind of like little like kind of nuances about the human experience, right? How we interact, or even taking stereotypes, right, and kind of flipping it on its head to find the funny in it. And I think that that's not too dissimilar to what poetry is, right? I think poetry takes a moment in time and tries to give you all the detail within that to create an image, right? And I think comedy does the same thing. And I think they also in the evolution of both have taken on these social issues that we experience, particularly if you come from like press community, whether that's the LGBTQ community, whether it's Black and brown folk, women. If you come from a group that's been oppressed, a lot of the ways that we express ourselves is through our art, right? And sometimes what takes away some of the sting of what we are experiencing is laughter. So I have an appreciation for both. And so when it was actually my sister, my older sister, who was like, because I'm always kind of cutting up on stage anyway. That's just kind of this is kind of how I am as a person before I just jump right into poems at the open mic or something like that. Like I'm always cracking a couple jokes. And so she was like, that could be a thing. She's like, you should probably turn this into a thing. And then when we went on tour, some years back, it became, doing these 30-minute, 45-minute, hour-long sets. I was like, it's not all just poems. You know what I mean? There's some stuff in between. And a lot of times it was just funny stories, things I would talk about as a kid, like how I grew up and how that led into the poem. And a lot of times they were funny. So we ended up putting together Traumedy, which is streaming now on a few different platforms to talk about mental health, but to kind of give people a laugh along the way. So it's a really great show with some really great poems and some really funny stories and jokes as well. So, and the same thing with Black Dad Life, that's on YouTube, and the same thing, talking about parenting and just trying to find the intersection, that line between humor and some of the heavier content.
Okay, well, we got a few more minutes, but we want to make sure we leave time for actually hearing your poetry. But I wanted you to speak briefly, at least, on poetry as a revolutionary act. That seemed to be significant to me.
So I think that when we're talking about, especially within the time that we're in right now, I think this is a time where we have to be the loudest that we've ever been, right? Because there's so much happening in the world, and if we continue to be silent, then we're going to continue to live in a world where we're not going to see true equity or true equality, right? And I think it is a charge of the artist, the poet especially, to write the poems that make people uncomfortable, right? Write the poems that disrupt. Write the poems, say the poems that challenge the status quo. Because this is how we move forward. This is the type of art that sticks with us. You know what I mean? When I think about Gil Scott-Heron's Whitey's on the Moon, all right, it's still one of my favorite pieces to this day, right? And it really is a lens on the perils really that Black people were facing at that time, or poor people really were facing at that time, and how the government was neglecting these people, right? And that poem resonated amongst the community, right? When you think about Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, right? Highlighting the struggles of what was happening in these neighborhoods. We need art like that because that art is going to stay with us forever. You know what I mean? That art is what's going to inspire change, right? And we all have a part to play within within and in liberation, right? And so not everybody's going to be at the protest, right? Not everybody's going to be talking to the legislators, but people need to be inspired. And if you want to find those people who are going to do those things, right, the artists have to continue to make the art that inspires people. That's how we play a part in the role in the community.
Okay, so now we've got a few minutes left, and we want to make sure that we have our viewers to hear this revolutionary poetry, comedy poetry, dramedy, whatever you want to share in these last, 10, 9, 8 minutes.
All right, well, I'll start with something a little heavy, and then I want to end with a piece that I wrote recently that's kind of centered more so around joy. So let's do this one first, and now I'm going to read something newer, recite something from Define. This is a brand new piece. This is and it's called "Reasons Why I'm Okay Crying in the Gym." Reasons why I'm okay crying in the gym. 1, because people assume it's sweat. 2, because no one notices. Beats and AirPods are also blinders, and if people can't hear your pain over their playlist, then you don't exist. 3, because in the gym, everyone is an island that wants to show the other islands how much of a beautiful island they are or are becoming. And what's a better allegory for masculinity and depression than that? Like, I'm not depressed. I just need to lift a little more. My demons can't catch me if I'm on the treadmill. I ain't no punk. I'm a bench press the world off my chest. Look at me. Look at how strong I am. See how strong friend I am, strong man I am. Don't check on me, man. Just spot me. And if anyone sees me crying, I tell them it's just pain leaving the body, even though it's really painful memories overflowing. 4, because what you have to hold in life is outside of your control, but the bar that you put in your hand is. And I want to know what it feels like to have some control, to bring it close or to push it away or to let go of the heaviest thing whenever I need to. Sometimes these are tears of relief. 5, because at this point, I think that sobbing has electrolytes. 6, because it's conversation repellent. No one asks you how many sets you have left when the machine is covered in tears. 7, because endurance is built through high reps, at least 8, they say. The more you lift, the more you can lift. I used to be scared to cry. Thought it was because I was too much strong man to do it, but it's because my tear ducts were too weak to pull up the tears that my inner child was shedding. Now, inside of a Gold's Gym, I can weep like the world's strongest man because I know that no one is going to hug me. No one is going to ask me if I need anything, and it reminds me of what it's like crying when you're a boy. 8, because a man crying at what he can't lift is more acceptable than crying at the trauma he can't put down. That's that piece.
Okay. Continue, please.
All right, so this piece is called "I'm Fine." It is featured in my latest book, Define. And the question is always, how are you? And I reply that I'm fine. I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. And when I say I'm fine, sometimes I really do mean I'm okay, I'm good. Most days when I say I'm fine, I really mean your shoulder looks too sharp to lean on. I'm worried that you'll cut me and drown me in everything that I spill to you. Or when I say I'm fine, I mean, no, I don't trust you with all my weight. Depression can make me a lifeless body. This pain is a dead lift. You can't skip leg day and expect to hold all this grief. Or when I say I'm fine, I mean, no, today I am swallowing hell. Better to be a burning building than to open my mouth and become an arsonist. I mean, you may have come into this conversation as an empath, but you may leave like a burnt body after Pompeii, a corpse after Chernobyl. Most days, how are you is a hollow question, and most don't want the depths of a real response. When I say I'm fine, and I mean, you don't want to know, it's not about you. Or you don't want to know because it is definitely about you. Or it's always about you. And that is a part of the problem. I say I'm fine, and what I really mean is I have always been the rock strong friend you're supposed to check on but don't, and what I've actually been as a wall with no boundaries, played therapist to every friend and lover while still dealing with my own childhood trauma. So now my love language is acts of service while acting like I got my stuff together. Or it's physical touch but emotionally unavailable. I say I'm fine and I mean I am alive, and that's all I'm grateful for today. Or I don't know how or why I'm still alive. I don't really feel like being alive today, but that is the scariest response, because what validates a suicide? It doesn't help me grieve. It doesn't help me heal. It doesn't bring my mother back. It doesn't close a casket or give closure. It just feels dehumanizing or more human than I'd like to be. It doesn't have a definition, and I constantly want to define or refine or fine tune or find some way to just seem fine. So I say I'm fine. I'm not fine. I'm scared. I'm angry. I feel like I'm rotting away. And what are you supposed to say? I mean, since when have kind words stopped this kind of decay? So I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. Because it's easier to wear the mask and ask, how are you? And then lastly, so that we don't end on such a low note, this piece is new. This piece is called Don't You Want Joy?
Oh, yes. Thank you. Bring us up.
So I know you came here for the blood, to see the poets use the sharpest words over numb flesh and reopen everything we tell people we've healed from. Give ourselves to the altar of judgment, an audience of skeletons as decayed as the ones hung in our coat closets, a wardrobe of secret suicides and lies like lingerie. Feels like a necessary evil, placing our pain upon the stairs, watching people ascend to meet me where I've climbed from and find warmth in my wounds. But don't you want joy? Or do we only begin to heal after being triggered at the poetry spots? When the bullet hole looks fresh inside the latest Black hashtag, I don't want to unearth another name for the sake of art. I want to tell you about the children I've kept alive in my own home, in a classroom. Sometimes it is too much to hear, the stories of when our bodies were not our own. But I don't want to talk about the gym teacher that touched me where he shouldn't. Instead, I want to celebrate the English teacher that gave me the poetry that saved my life. Don't you want joy? Don't you want tears of laughter? Don't you want words that feel like a baptism, more excellence than execution? Don't you want poems that smile, stories of embrace? I mean, ain't that relatable too? Ain't that a reason to thank the artist? A reminder that I woke up and got dressed today, made myself a seance today, told myself I deserve to be here today, that I earned this resurrection. The cells of my body pulled me through the threshold of a poetry slam or an open mic or a polarizing mental state. I was pulled to the center today. I was magnetized and energized today. Because ain't that relatable too? Ain't love what connects us on a molecular level? Does it always have to be the pain? I could tell you that my heart is a stained glass window, just something of shards that used to be whole, but I'd rather shine a light and tell you all the beautiful colors I become. Don't joy sound like a poem that could win a slam? Hasn't love ever felt like a 10 once upon a time? And I know it's hard to find, but we are not searching alone. The poem doesn't always have to be bloodshed, because I was not meant for communion. Truth ain't always peaceful poetry, but the breath is. The stream of consciousness, praising that we are breathing right now. And inhale and exhale, because that is the poem.
And that is Sojourn with Words with our featured poet, Roscoe Burnems. Thank you, Roscoe.
Thank you for having me.
This is CTV out of Prince George's County in Largo, Maryland. We are closing out on a high note. Love that piece. Love all of them. Remember to be in touch if you want to. Let us know what you're doing, but always, always pick up a pen and keep writing.